Howdy everybody, I'm Taz Thornton. If you're wondering why I'm looking a little bit just dishevelled, it's because I've been to the gym not too long ago. And today I want to talk about fear. Why is that relevant? Because today was my first appointment back with my personal trainer since coming back from COVID. And I've had a bit of post-viral fatigue, and I've been wondering how on earth I'm going to be able to do it, and whether I would be able to do it, whether I'd be able to keep up. I've done some light exercise at home. But honestly, and this might sound really silly, I was a bit scared about going back to the gym today. I was a bit scared about how I'd manage. I was a bit scared about whether I'd be able to lift. I was a bit scared about whether my stamina would hold out. And guess what? It did. So there's some messages and some lessons in this that can be really useful for our business. You know, if I think back far enough, she says, reaching under the table, I remember having piddly little weights. This is a bit grubby because it lives on the floor. Piddly little 3K weights like that. I'm thinking, oh God, can I do that? And then we went on to 5s, and then onto these babies, which are my 8Ks, which I love because they're on brand. But then when I went to proper grown-up things, like these babies, these 10Ks for home use, I thought, I can't do 10s. And it was actually my PT who said, you know, you've been throwing a 10 around in the gym, Taz. You thought about getting some 10s at home? 10Ks? Ooh, they're proper grown-up stuff. So, of course, I bought the 10K hex bells. And frankly, it's a piece of cake now, so I play with them all the time. But, boom. When I first started, they seemed a bit big. And that's without looking at the barbell I've got down here and the extra weights I've got in the garage. But why is this relevant? Because even though I can throw these things around at home, when I was going back into a proper setting with a PT that I knew was going to be pushing me a little bit, I went into that place of, oh God, because it's one thing doing it at home, isn't it? It's one thing doing it at home when nobody's watching, and when frankly you can go, oh no, that's a bit too much. I'll just lean back against the dining room table and do some dips instead, you know, nice and safe stuff. But when you're there with somebody who's an ex-professional bodybuilder putting you through the paces, it's very different. But gym aside, I coped. It was fine. We did more than we thought I'd be able to do. I'm going back again on Friday. But again, it got me thinking, we can in life, someone once said that we can either be committed to our bullshit or to our growth, and you can't do both at the same time. And so often I find when we're thinking about fears or limitations, things that we think are holding us back, it's BS. I remember the first time I went to Go Ape, you know, the treetops adventure with the ropes and the swings and the Tarzan slides and all of that malarkey. I remember the first time I went, and it's got to be, whoa, probably 14, 15 years ago now. And I remember being really scared. How could this little harness make sure that I wasn't going to fall from a great height and hurt myself? Remember, in my past, I've got a back that was broken in 3 places. Sometimes, you know, bit scary. And I remember getting halfway across. If you haven't been yet, you get reinforced wires between trees, high off the ground, and little platforms and tree houses and stuff between them. And there are things like cargo nets you have to swing into and catch. There's ropes you have to climb. There's these big rope slides where you hang on. But there are also things like swinging platforms that you have to step on between the trees. And if you don't pay real attention to the fact that you're in a harness and the harness is clipped onto these reinforced wires, which is suspended safely between the trees, you can really feel that you're going to fall. And I remember the first time I went and I got halfway across one of these things, and you put your feet onto the planks and they start to swing, and before you know it, your legs are doing the splits. Oh my God, I'm gonna hold on. And I remember having this real moment of fear and freezing and thinking, what am I going to do? Is this really, does it need to be this scary? And do you know what I did in the end, in the middle of Go Ape? Instead of trying to just keep pushing my feet onto these planks and being scared that they'd swing out and I'd fall, I deliberately dropped my feet between and just sat there for a minute. I sat there in the harness and just swung for a bit. And once I'd done that, once I realised that once I put myself in the place, in the same position I would be in if I fell, I knew it'd be okay. So I sat there and swung about in the harness a bit and laughed, and my teammates behind me were like, come on, go move on. And I sat there and went, guys, chill. I'm just enjoying the surroundings. And after a few minutes, I pulled myself back up and walked across. And from there, the fear disappeared. So what is it that you are afraid of? What is it that you're not doing because you are blowing the fear out of all proportion? What is it that you're treating in the same ways? You know, when we were kids and we think there's a monster under the bed. And for most of us, there's not really a monster under the bed, unless you can't count spiders. But that's another video blog for another day. I like spiders. But the monsters we imagine under our beds are rarely even there, let alone as big as we think they're going to be. True? So what else is it that we are blowing out of all proportion? You know, maybe your limitations are all in your own mind. Maybe. Here's another common fear I hear people coming up with in business. If I put myself out there, if I tell my story, if I make myself a little bit vulnerable, people might say bad things. They might say bad things about me or to me. And that's true. Even if you only ever trot out the most benign messages, you're going to find people every now and then as your brand and business grows. You're going to find people who will have a bit of a go. Because, you know, sometimes when people are in a bad place, this blinkered bad place that that a lot of them choose to stay in, that can be their comfort zone, they can take the most innocent comment and flick it into some awful, crushing criticism or judgment. And that's got nothing to do with you. It's all on them. So you cannot keep making yourself small for fear of what somebody else might say. Yet again, we are allowing our fears that are just limitations in here to stop us doing things. Now, a lot of you here in the comments are saying, oh, that was a great book. I'm not actually talking about the Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway book, although I agree. Yes, great book. That phrase now, though, has been used in so many different ways. It's become quite a colloquialism, quite a common phrase that's quite apart from the book. So I'm not talking about the book in this. I'm talking about literally looking at the things that we're afraid of that are stopping us and looking at why we're doing it. Here's another thing. What if instead of just deciding that we're just going to do it anyway and facing the fear head on, what if we actively choose to flip our fear into excitement? This is something that many of you have heard before, I'm sure, but it's absolutely true. When we are afraid of things, we get pretty much the same physical reaction that we get when we're excited about something. You know, our heart rate might increase. We might get sweaty palms. We might start to sweat a little bit. We might get that nervous anticipation. Look at roller coasters. Some people are afraid of roller coasters. Some people love roller coasters. I'm both. Roller coasters now, at the grand old age of 47, scare the shit out of me. And yet I love them anyway. Why? I've trained myself to continue to love them. I lose my nerve a little bit more with roller coasters every year I get older. And what that means is that the more fear I feel around roller coasters, the more I'm going to push myself to do it. Because you can be damn sure that I am not going to allow my fears around something to stop me doing it. What if that's the first step? That's the first give. What if the first thing I allow to knock me off track is being scared of roller coasters? If I go, oh, no, I'm scared now. I can't do them anymore. I'm getting too old. I'm not going to do it anymore because I'm scared. When does that stop? Oh, no, I'm not going to follow up with that client now. I'm a bit scared. They might say, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, no, I can't go and speak on that stage in front of that crowd because, you know, they're all really professional people. They're all experts and I'm just me and I'm a bit scared, so I'm not going to do that. Or, oh, no, I'm not going to take that opportunity to grow my business because it's a bit scary. And what if it goes wrong? So believe me, people, the more my head says you're scared of roller coasters, don't get on, the more I'm going to deliberately override it and go, we're getting on that and we're going to find a way to be excited. So as I'm on that roller coaster, and those of you who've been on roller coasters or who love roller coasters or who've been on one once and have decided you're never going to do it again, will remember this bit. The harness has come down. It's locked in. you hear the locks going, and you might sit there and juggle, 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 juggle. It's not moving. We're beyond the point of no return. And at that point, you might start thinking, could I get out? Could I get out? If I start waving my arms a bit now and go, excuse me, I need to get off. Would they come and unlock me? And all the time you're thinking about that, time's ticking on. And then you hear something, you hear the hydraulics, and you know, it's too late now. They can't stop it. Somebody's hit the button. And the roller coaster carriage starts to gradually edge along the track. And you look at the person next to you. Are they afraid? Are they enjoying it? Do they look happy? You look at the people in front of you. Try and crane your neck if you can past the head restraint. Are the people behind looking relaxed? Is this going to be okay? And it goes along the tracks. And if it's one of those old-fashioned ones where it just starts to gradually be pulled up, and all you can see is this giant hill ahead of you, and you know, logic tells you that the other side of that is going to pause for a second, and then it's going to let go. All the time I'm on that bit, click, 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 click. And the more I'm getting closer to that pinnacle, whereas I used to be thinking, wow, this is amazing. What's usually going through my head now, particularly if I'm overseas and with my wife, is, oh my God, what if I die? Have I sorted my will out? How's Ash going to get my body back to the UK? Oh my God, have I filled out everything? Is there going to be enough money to cover it? Is she going to be okay? Who's going to look after Asha? Oh, you selfish idiot. What are you doing? You've got onto this contraption. You've got onto a death contraption. What are you doing, you stupid woman? And then it gets to the top. And I will hit this moment of no return now, Taz. Just let go and trust. Woohoo! And then the fear's gone. Because in that moment, all I can feel is the wind blowing through past my face, ruffling my hair. I can feel the adrenaline and I can feel excitement, because I will not let that be fear. And if I start to think this is scary, I will start repeating in my head, you're excited, you're excited, you're excited. Because the difference between feeling fear and feeling excited is what happens in here and the commands that we give ourselves. It's that simple. And so I make sure everything's in order, and I still get on the roller coasters. And every year I might feel a bit more fear. And that is a sign to me that I need to keep pushing it until I get to a point, unless I get to a point where there's some medical condition that says I can't manage the adrenaline rush and the excitement. I'm getting onto those things. I'm getting onto it, and I'm going to feel the fear, and I'm going to flip it into excitement, and I'm going to do it anyway. And let me tell you this as well, for someone who sometimes gets really, really stressed and who clings on to looking after other people all the time and doing it for my job, even making sure everybody else is okay. I know that those few minutes, or if you're in the UK where roller coasters have less land, those few seconds of absolute surrender and letting go and knowing that I am completely out of control do me the world of good. It's the same thing when I get on a plane and it takes off. It's the same, you know, my wife, Asha, terrified of flying. She's a lot better than she was now. The last time we got onto a flight with someone, they sat somebody next to us. Asha got chatting. I'm trying to get into my own little zone and pop my mint imperials and sit in my little bubble. Asha's yabbering away to the lady next to her. It turns out lady next to her is terrified of flying. She's never been on a flight on her own before. Before I know it, Asha's saying something along the lines of, oh, my wife's a coach. She helps people with fear. She helped me get over it. I'm nowhere near as scared as I used to be. Taz, can you help this lady? And I remember having a split second of feeling, oh, for God's sake, I'm trying to have a break. This is a busman's holiday now. But then getting into the vibe and thinking, come on, help someone. Not going to make any difference to you. And by the time we'd actually taken off, this lady and us, the three of us in our seats, were flying through the air, all chanting, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. And yes, we got some stupid looks. But at the end of that flight, that lady said, you know what? That's the most enjoyable flight I've ever had. I don't feel scared anymore. Thank you very much. So I had to get over my own mindset to even help in that point. So I think I've kind of started to ramble a little bit more. But my point is that if we're afraid of something, we need to understand why we're afraid of it. And we need to have a word with ourselves. Like, do I actually need to be afraid of this? Is this fear holding me back? Do I really need to stay on these? Or can I quite easily graduate to one of these and more? You know, can I do this? Can I flip from a 3K baby weight up to a 10K grown-up weight and more for the fellas and those who've been training for longer than me? What are the tiny things? What are the little things that at one point we thought, can I do that? And then realised that we can do more and more and more. And so for your businesses, for the growth of your business, I want you to really, really focus on what it is you think you're afraid of. I was afraid of going back into the gym today, and I'm okay. I'm going back again in a couple of days. You know, what is it that you're afraid of? I remember when I was a journalist, before the days that I became a coach, in my first reporting job, I remember being terrified of speaking to people on the phone to get stories in an open newsroom, because obviously everybody was going to be looking at me as the trainee reporter and taking the piss out of me. Of course they're not. They're all busy on their own stories, and I'd write myself a little list of questions, and sometimes I'd sneak down to the back of the building where there was an office with a phone and do it there. And gradually I realised that I didn't need to be afraid. I didn't need to write down the questions. I could just go into interviewer mode and get what I needed from that person. And nobody was going to be listening to me and judging what I was saying on that call. In fact, by the time I left that job, I'd moved up to the rank of news editor, and I had a real reputation for, if somebody angry phoned up, they'd pass the phone to me because they knew I'd be able to talk them down. 9 times out of 10, get an apology from them. And actually, gift of the gab. So, another thing I was afraid of, and I flipped it. What are you afraid of? Be honest. Do you need to be afraid of it? Is there a way that you can flip it around? Is there a way you can face that fear in the same way that I faced the fear at Go Ape? Is there a way that you can flip it so that you don't need to be afraid anymore? And in fact, you can make friends with that fear and turn it into a big old bolt of excitement. Because let's face it, a bit of excitement, a good old adrenaline rush will do us all good. I hope that's helped. I'm going to disappear there and probably, go and have a shower. The gym's good in some ways. It's not so good if you want to be sweet smelling. Be glad that this isn't smell-o-vision, people, because I stink of gym workouts. I'll see you all soon. Lots of love. Remember, keep unleashing your awesome. I can't do it for you. I can only ever point you to the door. I can't do sit-ups and grow your abs. Frankly, I can hardly see my own abs at the minute, but I trust that they're there under my protection. See you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.